Cristiano Ronaldo and R9 played on the same team, how many trophies would the two win together? Today we're going to find out, as we're taking rookie R9 and sending him to 2002 to pair up with Cristiano at Sporting, giving us the chance to see what a healthy R9 could have looked like, while also answering the most important question of this video: who's actually better? In order to find that out, we're going to be counting up both Cristiano and R9's Player of the Season awards and Ballon d'Ors in order to make that decision at the end of their careers, which just so happens to be the 2021-22 season, which means the two have 20 years to rack up as many trophies as possible. With all that being said though, we're still only at the beginning of their careers, as their first season would see them both score 10 goals, and with scouts taking notice, they would quickly be on the move, as their duo would be headed to Manchester United. And as far as season 2 goals, they wouldn't need any time to adjust to a new league, with R9 scoring 23 goals and 9 assists, and Cristiano ending his season just shy of the 30 goal mark, carrying the team to Carabao Cup, while also reaching the Europa League finals, where they'll be facing off against Arsenal. This is their toughest challenge yet. Let's see if they can pull it off. And that's exactly what they would go on to do, as Arsenal had no solution for this newly led Man United offense, would go on to find the back of the net 4 times, resulting in them lifting a second trophy at home in front of the faithful Reds. It's a very good season for both of them individually, who are now up to an 83 overall. Both trophies won against Arsenal, but 4 points shy of the Premier League title, which is going to Chelsea. But this is as good of a start you could have hoped for. While they are off to a hot start, keep in mind that they are still young and inexperienced, and the following season would be a trophyless one for our duo, as they would finish 3rd behind Liverpool and eliminated in the UCL quarterfinals, serving as a reminder that trophies are earned and not given. With this season now behind us, we can move on to year 4, which wouldn't only be a bounce back year for United, but for R9 as well, who's taking his goal scoring in all competitions from 17 goals to 25, which explains the drop in Cristiano's numbers, who's going from 33 to 23. The reason why neither have won a Player of the Season award is due to the fact that Rooney also makes up 1/3 of the scoring, which is eating into their stats. However, it's this offense that would lead United to a 28-win campaign, which would ultimately see them lift the Premier League trophy. And of course, there's no positive without a negative, and that would be the fact that their struggles in the Champions League will continue, not only this year, but the following as well, as not only are they not making it out of the group stage, they're not winning any trophies at all, leaving many fans, and myself included, quite disappointed. I don't know, I kind of expected more. I feel like they should have already made the Champions League finals, or at least won it by now. And what really seems to be the problem is there's only one ball and 3 amazing forwards who are all going into a game with the same mindset, which is to score as many goals as possible, to the point where you could label them as selfish players, and ultimately it's hurting the team more than anything else. What's missing is 1 or even 2 playmakers, but we're still a couple years away from seeing them with such players. And while yes, Scholes does fit that profile, he's also 33 and on the back end of his career. We're still early into the video, but we're at a crossroad already. The hype around our duo seems to be fading, and the media's attention has now turned to another young star out in Barcelona. However, our duo would remind everyone why they should not be doubted, as not only are they leading United to another Premier League title, but they're making a deep run in the Champions League, beating Schalke in the round of 16, Olympique Lyon in the quarterfinals, getting their revenge on Bayern Munich in the semis, to finally reach the finals, where they would fall short against Barcelona, and it's none other than Lionel Messi who would score the winner. The result is disappointing, but it's also 2008 Barca, which is like one of the best teams ever, but at least they've made the finals, so it's somewhat encouraging. We're now heading into their final year with the Red Devils. The trend so far has been 1 good year, followed by 1 bad year, and while they weren't able to win the Premier League, they've won the FA Cup and 90 minutes away from lifting another trophy. They're in the finals against Barcelona for the 2nd year in a row, and as you would expect, this one would be tight, as we would need extra time to settle the score. If you could sum up their progress as a team after all these years, the game winner would be the perfect way to showcase it, as United would completely dismantle the Barca defense, all started on one end with Rooney and finished on the other with Cristiano. They get their revenge for last year, and hopefully this is only one of many more UCLs to come. And we're going to be tracking individual and team objectives that they'll have to accomplish throughout their career. So if you have any predictions on who you think is going to come out on top, Leave a comment and come back to it later. There is real excitement in Madrid, as not only are they adding Cristiano and R9, but they've also signed the perfect player to complement them, that being Kaká, who's in the prime of his career. And Cristiano in particular is the one benefiting the most from his arrival, as their chemistry on the pitch is very noticeable. His explosive pace down the right flank, combined with Kaká's long-range passing, results to many goals being scored every night. We're starting to see Cristiano separate himself from R9, and his playstyle might have something to do with it. The issue is, he's often dropping into the midfield to help with the build-up, while Cristiano is bombing forward, often finding himself in better scoring positions. But despite him not having the greatest start, this season would prove to be the tale of two halves, as while Cristiano was shining early, R9 would quickly close that gap. His performances in the Champions League would more than make up for a slow start, especially in the knockout stages, where he found the back of the net multiple times against Juventus and Inter Milan to lead Real Madrid into the finals. While we wait for the result of the other semi-final matchup between Barcelona and Roma, the Champions League is potentially the only trophy our duo can win, as they lost the Copa del Rey to Barcelona, and to my shock, neither team would be winning La Liga, as it's going to Valencia. With their eyes set on winning the Champions League, we would be in for another shock, as their opponents would not be Barcelona, as Roma would manage a 1-1 draw at the Camp Nou to send Roma into the finals. And while the Italian side was hard to break down and managed to contain the Barca offense, they were not able to replicate that success against Madrid, as R9 would have one of the best individual nights of his career, combining for 5 goal contributions, which saw him find the back of the net 4 times. This might be the beginning of the R9 takeover, and with such a performance on the biggest of stages, combined with the goal-scoring form he's in, it's no surprise to see him in contention for the Ballon d'Or, and to everyone's surprise, is headed to David Silva. That is a head-scratcher. EA, you're gonna need to explain that one to me. While one of them should have won a Ballon d'Or by now, they're bound to get one. But for the time being, they're adding to their trophy case, as they would carry the momentum from last year into the upcoming season, leading the title race for the entirety of the year. And while Atletico Madrid and Barcelona challenged them for the title, right now it's clear that Madrid have what it takes to clutch up. But would they be able to do it against Chelsea in the UCL finals, who, as a reminder, won it in this year in real life? The answer to that question would be a resounding yes, and this one wouldn't even be close, as while Fernando Torres and Drogba are great strikers, when your defense is leaking goals the way that they are, there's not much that they can do about it. The fact that they're scoring for fun against incredible teams is insane. With this season coming to an end, we're finally going to see one of them win their first individual award, as the two are the frontrunners for the Ballon d'Or, and with 1 goal contribution separating the two, the voting is extremely tight. But ultimately, with 11 goals in the Champions League, the Ballon d'Or is going to R9. It took 9 seasons, but one of them is finally on the board. With the form that Real Madrid are on, there's no team seemingly able to challenge them, at least for the time being. And they will eventually be tested, but until then, we're shifting our focus a little bit more on Cristiano and R9, as both are putting up new career highs and adding a treble to their growing list of accomplishments. They finally managed to win both domestic titles and their 4th consecutive Champions League, but more importantly, it would be more than enough to see one of the two players win individual awards. And to keep it short, while both can score a goal from anywhere on the pitch, Cristiano's ability to be in better scoring positions is ultimately allowing him to find the back of the net more often, scoring 48 times compared to R9's 37, and the reason as to why he would be winning the Player this season, as well as the Ballon d'Or, to claim the lead in our journey to finding out who's better. And just like that, Cristiano's on top. If you think these two are slowing down anytime soon, you couldn't be more wrong, as not only are they getting better, but the players around them are as well. Kaká is continuing to be the dominant force that he is, but the addition of Luka Modric is taking this offense to a new level we haven't yet seen. In fact, the gap between Real Madrid and Barca is as big as it's ever been. Barca are in the UCL finals, so it's not like they're bad, it's just that Real Madrid is that good. We're going to see more competitive matches between these two, so not to waste anyone's time, this is ending in a 6-0 loss for Barca, which means Cristiano and R9 are lifting the Champions League for the 5th time in a row. At the rate that they're winning, this might be the best team of all time. The question now becomes, who's winning the Ballon d'Or? because R9 is claiming the Golden Boot and the Player of the Season, and with the striker usually being favored in the voting, it's Cristiano's name that's being called instead. I'm a little bit surprised because R9 had the better individual season, but at this point, with how good these two are, it's most likely going to come down to a coin flip. You can't help but feel like R9 has been snubbed, and with the media constantly bringing it up, he's giving them something else to talk about. And whether he was out to prove everyone wrong, or maybe it's pure coincidence, this would be the most dominant version of R9 we've seen to date, scoring 51 times across all competitions in what would be a treble-winning year, and this time, there would be no need for a coin flip. R9 is winning both awards. We'll have to see how Cristiano responds, because while he had a decent season, it's much lower than what we've been used to seeing, which might be cause for concern, but even if individual awards are an uncertainty, he's still winning trophies, as Real Madrid are still the best team in the world. However, while they are still finding ways to win, it hasn't been a walk in the park either. Barcelona was able to win both El Clásicos, which hasn't happened in years, and when you combine the addition of Neymar and Suarez to the potential slowdown of one of our stars, you just have to wonder if the good days are behind them. They aren't as invincible as they once were. In fact, this would be their toughest UCL title defense in quite some time. They've just narrowly made it to the finals, which is to the credit of R9. However, with a chance at making history, they find themselves down 2 goals at halftime. This is the first time we've seen them struggle since joining Real Madrid. Dortmund are 45 minutes away from doing something no team has been able to do for half a decade. But if you thought Madrid were going to go down without a fight, you're sadly mistaken, because Bale would cut the lead to 1, giving them more than a chance to get back into this game. So with that being said, let's drop into the final moments of this game, where a dynasty will either fall or make history once again. 2-1 Dortmund, 8 minutes left to play. Real Madrid are on the counterattack. Can Dortmund stop it and cause the biggest upset in this video so far? Who's taking the last shot for Madrid? R9 shoots, blocked, cleared by Piszczek. Khedira keeps the ball in play for Real Madrid. Cruz finds R9. Bale has options in the box. Bale on his weak foot. Bale! We have a tie game! While it's concerning that they've been exposed in this game, whether this is the beginning of the end of their dominance is yet to be known. But what we do know is they've been the kings of this competition for half a decade. And while their reign will come to an end at some point, that point is not tonight. This might be the greatest simulation I've ever seen. R9's performance this year really needs to be highlighted, because if our duo is lifting UCL number 7, it's mostly to his credit, as without his 15 goals in this competition, they're likely not making it this far, especially when you consider Cristiano only had 3 goals. He's rightfully lifting his 3rd Ballon d'Or, and while Cristiano is falling behind, don't count him out just yet, because there's still plenty of time for him to catch up. And speaking of time, with so many years remaining and a new team before going back to England, it's only fair if we fast forward a few years. What they've accomplished so far in Real Madrid is likely to never be repeated. And with them showing that they are beatable, if this were to be the last trophy they raise for the club, it wouldn't take anything away from their legacy. Our 2 stars are now in their first of 3 years in Italy, and while they're much older and playing in a more physical league, they would still do what they do best, which is scoring lots of goals and winning trophies, which in fairness isn't too hard given Serie A was much weaker around this time. However, while they're finding success domestically, their decade-long streak of winning the Champions League would come to an end, as they couldn't get past the semi-finals in each of these last 3 years. Overall, their time in Italy would see them add 4 trophies to reach the 30 mark, and each would be taking home 1 player of the season, which brings us to the final year. Our duo's 20-year career is now coming to its end, bringing us even closer to finding out who's better. They're returning to a familiar environment with some familiar faces, looking to relive familiar emotions. Will Cristiano's work ethic earn him another award, or will R9 take over like we've seen him do before? One of those questions will be answered soon. Neither will likely win the Ballon d'Or if they don't win the Champions League, which brings us to the UCL final. And before we find out the result, allow me to take you back to 2009, where our duo would be in their first final against Barcelona, which would ultimately see them lift their first Champions League. I bring it up because they find themselves in a familiar scenario, a very close game that would need extra time, ultimately ending with our two stars raising the trophy, which sets us up for one final Ballon d'Or ceremony. The two came into this final year tied with 3 Player of the Seasons and 4 Ballon d'Ors each. And with 2 decades worth of highlights and memorable performances, only one can break the tie. And with them ending the season with identical stats, the Ballon d'Or winner, to find out who comes out on top, is decided by you.